Good morning. Hopefully it's all connected. Sorry for the delay. For some reason my OBS wasn't connecting to the actual stream, and I refreshed a few times and no, it's just connected. I don't know what's going on, but it seems to be okay now. Any problems, please let me know. Okay, so today is the 12th. No, it's not. It is the 2nd of the 12th, 2024. A new month. So coming up to the end of the year as well, and probably a good time to reflect on the previous 11 months or the previous 12 months, and go into the new year with a new plan or a overview of what's been the good and bad things of the year. But I'm going to go through today's levels, and I'm just opening to get some news. You can see today we've got PMI coming in at 10 o'clock, so just be a bit wary. That's what could move the market. Let's see whether there's anything different on TradingView. Monday, no, TradingView's only got PMI as a high volatility event, and we've got PMI coming in at 9:45 as well. So just be wary if you're in a trade at those times, because that is what could potentially whip you out of a trade if you're in it or something. So let's just start off by looking at the ES. We're going to the 1 hour time frame. I've not traded since Wednesday, so I'm just going to get my head back around things, get back into the flow of things again, and I'm just literally reviewing the chart, which I've not looked at until today or Friday. It's half a day. I was away hiking on Friday, and didn't even realise we hit new all-time highs. So let's just get my pen ready. Okay, so I can see a decent level already. We've got this area of volume on the volume profile where we came into, which was the original all-time highs down at 60.44 area, and obviously on Friday there was a bit of volume, not too much volume, not as much volume as we've seen on previous days, but we put in a new all-time high, and in the post-market and the pre-market we came back in to retest this area. So what I do like, even though I do watch for break and retest of both pre-market high, which I'll watch for, and a break and retest of pre-market low, I'm also going to watch for it to hold this pre-market low, yesterday's low area around this point as well, for potential bounce into this extra volume, and that's probably the only level I really like. This area here, so you see the tops of candles, but the only thing I'm a bit wary of there is lack of volume in Friday's post and pre-market, so we can keep an eye on that area for a bounce, but if we do lose it, then potentially we've got another bounce. Let's just zoom out a bit. That's probably around where the point of control is, this area here at 60.20 to 60.23. Let's just mark it up. So this is the point of control, and that's where the most amount of volume is sitting, and that's an area like 60.20 for a bounce. So that's my bounce area today. That's my higher probability area. So if the market does come down into this region, I'm going to be watching for a bounce. Not looking for a rejection up here, because I don't like to reject all-time highs, but if we do come up into this region and we cannot put a new high in, I may look for a reversal. Friday's high, which is the new all-time high, was at 60.60, so that's an area we can keep an eye on. So let's just mark that off as well. Ooh. Let's clear that. So let's keep an eye on 60.60 for a, not a rejection. We don't want to go into it. We want to see something like that set up. So this is exactly what I look for when I'm looking for a rejection area. I'm looking for it to come into the area on watch, and you can see on Friday this highlighted area was an area we've been watching for it. And what I like to see is come in, poke out through it, come back down, and then look for the rejection. I don't know what that looks like on the 5 minute. I don't know whether I've even taken it if I've been watching it. So just average volume. There's no real ending volume, so it would have been a difficult one to take anyway on Friday. Probably wouldn't have taken it. Indecision. There was no real, even though the hourly gave a big topping candle, the 5 minute doesn't really give much there. When we're looking over here, topping tail, topping tail, topping tail. You know, the warning signs were there. Average volume there. There was no real ending volume on the 15 minute. You want to see a bit of a volume spike. You could say this is ending volume, but usually I like to see it coming up. The first sign of weakness on this 15 minute is this hammer candle. It means at one point that was a red candle and then it recovered. So that's the first sign of weakness. I can't see the volume down there. And then we did topping tail candles. So there were signs it would have reversed. And we've got high amounts of volume in that area as well. But probably not one I would have got. And it would have been outside of my trading time as well. I only want to be trading for the first 2 hours of the day. So let's go back to today's area. So let's keep an eye on break and retest for 60.54 for a long and to continuation into this area. If we're seeing a big push and we poke through, we can look for a break and retest, maybe look for an add to go long. Bear in mind we are pretty much overbought right now on the RSI, so it's going to be hard, but we were overbought here as well on Friday, and that was about here, and look what happened, it carried on going, carried on going. So use this only as a guide, and then yeah, I think the best bounce area is definitely the point of control area we looked at earlier. I'm watching Friday's low really, 60.20 for the bounce. That's the two areas. I'm going to just tidy up these lines so we've got a better screen. We can watch pre-market low as well. So I do like to do these little updates before I go live, but there you go. So that's what I'm watching, these three areas today. So I'm watching this region for continuation. Notice lack of volume above, so it'll have to be a continuation. I'm looking for a break and retest of pre-market high, and then I'm looking for a potential bounce down in this region here. And if we can't hold that area, break and retest short into this region, and I'll be watching that area for a bounce. So that's basically it. 3 levels and about 4 or 5 plays we could potentially get from that. Just not a big fan of these top ones here. Let's see what happens when the market opens. Let's just have a look at order flow. I'm going to flip to my order flow screen. Nothing different going on here. We can see we've got cumulative delta increasing, we've got price increasing. We don't have many big orders at all, no orders at all. It might be a quiet day, so there's nothing really to show. So just keep an eye on this for a potential reversal if we're coming into a bounce area. So we want to see a bit of divergence. And that's it. There's not really much on the 30-minute filtered, and the 10 range and the 5-minute all looks a bit average. Okay, so let's just move on, and we'll come back to that near the time. So 60.20. So I've got in the comments there's more possibilities to go short 60.20 area. So let's see what that looks like on here. 60.20. This region here. You could say if we do go, this is how I see it. If we want to go short down here, then we've got to have a big move down. You know, get down to yesterday's low. And there's a lot of levels already sitting here. We've got Friday's low. We've got this bit of a volume shelf below, so that could also act as potential support. Let's look out at 60.20. And what's the confluence like? It's a big area of confluence as well. So 60-20, I've just zoomed out, and let's just highlight that area. So we've got all of this area here. Can you see that's the area? So for me, obviously trade however you're comfortable, but for me, I can only see that as a bounce area. You've got tops of pivots, bottoms of pivots, tops of pivots, bottoms of these pivots, a Friday level as well, and we've got the point of control and lots of volume coming into that area. But if we do clear that area and we come back up into that region, then there's no reason why the floor can then become the ceiling, if that makes sense. And that's it. Yeah, there's not many great levels. We really want to see a bit of a big day. We've had a few inside days where we've only traded sideways, so we just need to get out of this range. So the range we've got currently is around, we basically want to see it move outside of this range. I want to see it come down, starting putting in a new downtrend if we're seeing a bit of a change of trend, or we're going to want to break out, which looks like what it's done already. We've broken out, we come back to retest the bottom of that range, and it's going to keep going up. So that's really the only two potential areas I see on this chart. Let's just quickly look at SPY. Pretty much the same. We can draw in a trend line there, and we can watch for the break and retest. Let's come back out. So if we break and retest pre-market high, we'll be breaking that trend line, so that's a potential play. Or if we come back down into this volume shelf area there, which happens to be the tops of these pivots here, the bottoms of these pivots, pre-market low. Again, pre-market low, I do like to find a break and retest short, but we're going short into support below. But we can watch that area for a bounce. We've got 600 as a psychological number as well, so we could, if we do find a short, then we can watch this for a potential target or a bounce. And again, the only areas I like really is excuse me, is this area for a bounce, and that's the pre-market low area. And that's where we've got the areas of confluence where we're tops of candles, the tops of pivots, and then we come down. It happens to be Friday's low, or pre-market low actually, isn't it? Let's just zoom out and see the bigger picture. And another reason why I like it for a bounce as well is because we've got all this, we've got the previous all-time highs, another new all-time high there, and then we made the new all-time high. So that's an area I quite like for a bounce. 599 to 600 basically is in that region, that grey area we've got, to 601 I believe it is. 600 to 601, this area we can watch for a bounce. And then obviously if we get over pre-market high, we can watch for the break and retest, and we'll just literally be continuing this uptrend. And you've got to go with, you've got to be more favouring the current trend we're in. As much as I love shorts, we really want to see it come back down and start putting in a new trend, break down below that daily trend line we've got. So that's it really for SPY, SPX. Again, we've got this trend line we're holding. We've got a volume shelf, just here, a point of control as well. So probably 6,000 is a psychological number. So let's keep an eye on this area for a potential bounce, 6,000, and then playing the trend as well, the pullback to Friday's high, which is 60-20. So let's add, we put in new areas now, so let's add in a few more. And that's, I won't put today's high in unless it comes back to that later. So let's keep an eye on 60-20 for a bounce. That's a new level on the SPX. And also we've got this region if we come back down to that region for the bounce. But I only use SPX as a guide. I normally trade ES or MES. So I only want to go long on ES if we're currently above this region. If we've broken down below it, what used to be the floor could then become the ceiling and make it hard for ES to go long, as SPX may not want to push through that far. NQ. I see a comment. How can I use your order flow by using ES 30 min and 6 range to rent from you? So I don't quite understand your question, Inky. I will do a separate video on the order flow and how I use it to find my trades. Basically, if I'm looking for a reversal, I'm looking for a divergence. If we get time at the end, I'll just go through the charts. I'll go through a quick scenario I'll be watching for today on order flow. NQ, the only place I like is Friday's high. The reason I like that, we've got pivots from the left, we've got a volume shelf. We broke out of it on Friday, came back and retested it, so I do quite like that for the retest. 21.017 area, and then the only place we can watch for a break and retest a pre-market high, and then we're definitely lagging behind on ES for this. Oh, not sure what button I pressed there. We've not put in any new all-time highs, and we are we holding this area? There you go. You could say that's looking a bit more bullish. We've held this trend line, rejected it, rejected it, rejected it, and then finally we broke out, came back down, and we retested this trend line. So again, a bit like ES, even though I do like the breaks and retests of pre-market and pre-market low, just be a bit wary if we go short pre-market low, because we're going short into areas of confluence. Big areas of confluence there. I know this is an hourly chart, so we might be able to find a bit more space on the 5 minute down, better risk to reward. So I will keep an eye on them anyway. Pre-market high, probably my favourite break and retest to watch for today, as it goes with the current trend we're in. We're in an uptrend. And that's it, and then we can keep an eye for rejection at 21,200, 21,780, 7,178, that area here for the rejection. And that happens to be where our point of control is right now as well, running right through that area, and that's a region to watch for, which is potential overhead supply. QQQ, we've got about 6 minutes before the market opens. Again, we're holding this daily trend line. Look at how we came in a few days ago and bounced. Again, I quite like, well, I was watching this area originally for the rejection, and we had that on the 25th, and then we had a smaller one. I really only like taking the first touch of these areas, because you can see here it's getting weaker and weaker, and then finally we've broken out through that area. So now I quite like the break and retest of Friday's high, and that's around 510.05, 510.05, 510.10, that area there. And then overhead resistance wise, we can keep an eye on this region for a rejection. It's a big region, 512 to 514 area. Reason I like that is we've got that big volume shelf up here as well. And then if we lose, looking at the other volume shelf or the point of control, we've got this nice area we've been keeping an eye on for some time. Big rejections. And then what was the ceiling became the floor, broke down, and then it became the floor again. So let's keep an eye on 505 for the bounce, and potentially it could be bouncing off of the trend line if it gets down to that region. Ooh. Oil, don't like this at all. Back to the hourly. No, when it's like this, not one for me to play at the moment. It's just not doing anything, it's just going sideways. I'm not going to even watch any levels on this today. We want to break down below this region or break over this region, 71. But we definitely want to be wary of what we're looking at. So we could say that's our trend line there. Don't know whether you could even extend it from up there. Okay, that's our trend line. This is our other trend line. Just rough areas. So potentially if we're looking for something to happen, we can see we've been coming up into that region, coming back down to that region, coming up. We're just tightening and tightening and tightening, and then we may see something break out, long we are, or we can see it come through, break and retest these areas. So that's all I'm watching, but at the moment I can't see anything. So let's just keep an eye on those trend lines over the next few days. Gold. I'm so sorry, I realised I'm on the order flow chart. Thanks for your message. Okay, well, just going back, there wasn't much on oil apart from something to keep an eye on over the next few days. There's this trend line. I'm sorry about this. You can tell I've been away for a few days. My brain's not quite active yet. I've been hiking all weekend, so I'm feeling physically tired as well right now. A little bit drained, a little bit under the weather as well. So until we have something exciting happens, we either break out of this trend line or break down that trend line, then there's not really much for me to watch here at the moment. So I'll keep an eye on that area over the next day or two, see what happens. So that means you've not seen any of the NQ. Let me just quickly go over QQQ then, or NQ, which is holding that daily trend line, this trend line down here. Looking more bullish. We can keep for a rejection at, I'm going to put this back again. Here we go. So we had our first big rejection when we touched that area initially a few days back, and then I think you may have heard me say I'm not a big fan of when the of getting it for the second and third time. The first touch is always my favourite. That's when you get the biggest reaction. But I'm watching for a break and retest of this region out into this region here. And this is a potential short area. 21,200, 21,260. And then we can watch this area confluence down here for a bounce. And that's around 22,800 roughly, that area. And we've got this daily trend line. RTY. Going sideways, so let's err on the side of caution and just, if it's going sideways, you could say it's doing that. It's in an uptrend, so high probability break and retest long is on the cards, but we can also keep an eye for break and retest of pre-market low. That's the only two levels I'm watching on there really, and then you can use that as a target point if you catch the break and retest. Market's just open, so I won't hold you up any further. YM, try trend continuation again, break and retest of pre-market high, long, maybe Friday's high, and then we haven't got any bounces unless we get back down into this region again. And then finally Bitcoin. Let's go into the daily for Bitcoin. Volume wise, we've had our initial burst of volume and now it's waning off a little bit. We could just be resting volume while we're waiting for the 20 moving average to catch up, which is this blue line. So maybe we could see something happen over the next few days. Still looking bullish. Definitely holding this trend line just along here. I've got my alert set for just below 100. I think I might be dead on 100, so I'm going to probably take a little bit more off if we can break 100, and then I'll be looking for some pullbacks, whether we're going to push out long. But I really want to start adding back down here again at 75, and I think that's it really. Let's quickly look at order flow for a second. And again, I apologise for not having my order flow screen on. I kind of just catching up with the long weekend I've had hiking. So we've got cumulative delta looking normal, price is looking normal, and then if we look at the ES on the hourly, just to recap the levels I'm watching. Here's something of interest as well. I should have gone through the daily first. Look at this decline in volume. I know we had a low volume week as well. Decline in volume. All the candles are similar size as well, so showing a little bit of exhaustion. RSI is coming up into this overbought area as well. So potentially we might see something happen. But I do quite like the break and retest of this area on the daily. Break and retest to stay with the trend. Get down to the hourly. We've got a potential rejection area there, so pre-market high, so 5 minute. Big volume candle as well. So I don't do breakouts, but I do like breaks and retests. So break and retest of pre-market high, which is not until we get down here to 60.56. So I want to see it pull back down into that region to watch for the long. That's my prime watch areas, and then watching for the break and retest of pre-market low into this void. And then we've got, I say not void, there's only a little bit of a void, and then we've got the bounce area, yesterday's low, which we said we're watching 60.20 for the bounce. And obviously if we lose that area, 60.20, then we could potentially look for a break and retest short. And I don't have any other bounce areas at the moment. Okay, I think that's it. Hopefully I'll be back here more refreshed. I probably won't trade today. Need to have a clear mind, not a foggy mind I've got right now, and an aching body. But I will be on the live stream. Any questions, just message me on that stream, and that's the order flow stream, which looks a bit like this screen. Okay, thank you for watching, and trade safe today.